Good evening and welcome. My name is Inbal. I'm a psychic, tarot reader, and witch, and I teach tarot. I am broadcasting at you live from right here in the UK on the Bigfoot Outlaw Network. We are a channel chock full of psychic, spiritual, and esoteric stuff. If it's kind of psychic, we probably have it on the channel. If you stick with us, make sure you subscribe. That will help you find out when we go live on air with one of our psychic mediums or tarot readers or Bigfoot experts or cryptid experts or ghost hunters. If that's the kind of thing you're into, you're in the right place. If you're watching this show right now on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitch or Instagram, then it's coming at you live right now, and it means that you can get involved. You can send a message on whichever platform you're watching, except for Instagram. For Instagram, I've got to see who's on there. Let me congratulate. Hey, Nikki. Hi, Margarita. Hi, Lucia. If you're on Instagram, I've got to check you on another screen. But if you're watching on all the other channels, on all the other platforms that I mentioned, let me show you what your messages come to me as. So first of all, I've got Crystal who says hi Inbal already, and I've got Brandon who says good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too. It is 10 p.m. here in the UK, but it is 5 in the afternoon in New York now, I think, which means it's like 2 p.m. in California. Obviously, we're online, so we are everywhere all at the same time. Any messages that you send arrive here to my screen, and then we can talk. I can answer questions. We can look at anything that you like. We are a psychic development show. My name is Inbal, and teaching tarot is one of my passions. I love making the esoteric world accessible to everybody. So I've got tarot courses, I've got manifesting courses, video courses. I have a correspondence course, which you can start at your own time. And I also teach one-on-one. So with that in mind, I wanted to talk today about getting really, really good at just one thing, at like an expertise. Different people within the psychic world. Sorry, I want to reach for my coffee and it's over there. Just a second. Different people within the psychic world have their own different passions, their own different expertise, and they might only have that one thing that they're passionate about, or they might have lots and lots of things that they're passionate about. I wanted to approach it from potentially the point of view of somebody who's just starting out in this world. And so if you're just starting out in this world, I would love to hear from you. I would love to know. And if you're already old hat and you know the esoteric world quite well, I would love for you to support me by giving your advice and your guidance. We've got Lorna Nicole saying yoo-hoo, everyone, and saying hi and Bob, hi Lorna, and welcoming each person. Thank you so much. So Lorna, I think you can contribute there because I wanted to talk about how people develop sort of their own expertise and how that can benefit all the different sort of sides of your life. So the reason I got thinking about this is because when you see people sort of just entering this world, and there's so much to get interested in. You've got your crystals, you've got your tarot, you've got your oracle cards, you've got your essential oils, you've got your astrology. There is so much to get your head around. And so what I notice with newbies, what I notice with seekers, people who are sort of seeking some answers, who are seeking, the truth, who are seeking a different way to observe things. With new seekers, they try to get on top of everything at once. And what that creates is chaos. And I say that as somebody who loves chaos, where they'll get into the tarot, but they won't be really, really good at it. They won't really invest. They won't really apply themselves. They won't really sort of spend the hours and hours and hours that you need to get close to them. They might get into crystals and have a bit of an understanding of like what their favorite crystal is, and they'll have, potentially even loads of them and wear sort of multiples at the same time, but they might not understand how the different crystals interact with each other, or what influence each crystal has on their own energy, on their own vibration, on their own star sign. And so when complete newbies sort of come in, they'll take on everything all at once. And that is too much. That is too much for anybody. But then you get to the stage where you do find out what it is that really makes you excited. And what I was thinking is that it's really important to then home in on one specific discipline. And so if what sort of gets you really excited, hi Michelle, if what gets you really excited is astrology, spend a few years on it. You're not in a hurry to get anywhere. You're not in a hurry to obtain more information than everybody else. Sit with the astrology. Get yourself an astrology pack or an app that works really well with your energies, and get practicing and try to create a chart. Take some free courses. There's so much that you can learn from free courses, and start doing some astrology readings for your friends, or following like the different ways that the planets influence your life and other people's lives. If it's astrology, go all in. If it's tarot, don't even. If it's tarot, go right into it. I love the tarot so much. I feel like it's such a straightforward, such a self-explanatory way to do a reading. And the tarot has kind of the added advantage that within it, you have a lot of references to astrology, a lot of references to color therapy. You will kind of learn numerology as a part of it. Go all in. Now, stage 1 was doing too much. Stage 2 was going all in. Do you want to guess what I think stage 3 is? Stage 3 is expanding again. And so I feel like when I start teaching someone, they would feel as if I'm limiting them, right? Because I go, well, instead of doing everything, let's just home in on manifesting, or let's just home in on tarot. And it sounds limiting. And the secret is that when you are excellent at tarot, you will then reach for the next discipline and realize that you already know it. Because the secret is that all of these disciplines are woven into one another. And if you know astrology, you'll find the tarot very easy. And if you know tarot, you'll find palmistry very easy. And if you know any of them, you'll find color therapy very easy, which will lead to crystals, which can, in a roundabout way, get into essential oils. And what I'm saying is that in getting really, really proficient in one thing, you then inadvertently get really, really proficient in all the things. But trying to go for everything all at once. Lucienne is here. I really hope you agree with that. I'm gonna sort of recap what I said in a second. But in trying to get really, really incredible at everything right from the start, then all that we have is chaos. So Lorna Nicole says, I'd love to be proficient in tarot, just learning one pack, but it's so true what you say. I need to put the time to actually learn it. Do you know what I'm actually saying? Is that you need to put the rest of the things away for that period. So I'll just explain to Lucienne what I said, because Lucienne is such a Renaissance lady and is amazing at like everything. So so we'll see if you think that that's true as well. So I was saying, when people are kind of really, really new to the esoteric world, they try to do everything at once, and what you get is chaos. You don't become really good at this, you don't become really good at that. The hallmark of like the tourist, right? There's people who live this life, and there's people who are just like tourists in this life. And the hallmark of the tourist is that they know a tiny bit about this, a tiny bit about that. But to get really proficient in something, you've got to put in the time. As hi Sabrina, hi Nilda. You've got to put in the time, as Lorna was saying. And once you are really excellent, really proficient at the one thing, the miracle is that you'll find that you either pick up proficiency very, very easily in all the other things, or that you suddenly realize that you're already proficient. So let's have a wonderful little scroll through the messages. And I'm loving the messages because I feel like we've all got a real sort of personal angle to look at this. So Lorna Nicole was saying, I'd love to be proficient in tarot, just learning one pack, but it's so true, need to put in the time. So I'll tell you what I did at the very, very beginning. I had my tarot in my bag everywhere. I got stopped. I think you might know that story, but I got stopped going into a club. It wasn't even like a club. It was one of those, in those little shopping centers where it's like a cinema and like a pizza shop. So sometimes there's also like a bowling and a club. So it wasn't like a club. It was like a real nothing of a place. And I got stopped going in because I used to keep my tarot in those, the wooden boxes. And the security guy was so thrilled. He thought he caught a big fish. He was like, took out the wooden box and he's like, I know what goes in these wooden boxes. Ha, ha, ha. And opened them. And there was not what he expected at all. It was, obviously a box of tarot. So I would take my tarot everywhere. And when I had a little bit of time off, if I had to like wait in a line for something, if I had to like queue up in the bank, I think in the pre-digital days, there was a lot more queuing up, wasn't there? Then I would pull out my deck or I had like two books about tarot. I had Terry Donaldson's Step-by-Step Tarot that I thought was great for beginners. And I had Tarot Mirror of the Soul, which is not this copy. It's my old copy. And I would have it with me all the time. It was really to the exclusion of any other, hobby or friendship, almost. And it wasn't the 2 years that I invested in it, but it was the fact that at the same time, I was almost not pursuing any other sort of esoteric interest at all. A little bit. You know, I'd read a book here, a book there, sort of maybe turn up for some events, because at the end of the day, it is, you know, a big passion. It is sort of such a big world, but it's not so much the time that you invest in it, but more the sort of being very single-minded about it. And then after I said that, Lauren Nicole says, I do feel I can meditate, which is my own made up one repeated over and over until it became so easy to get to my place. That is such an amazing skill. And, you know, you say made up, you know, that that's the only way I believe it. I think if you learn to meditate from someone, that's all good and well, but who did they learn from, and who did they learn from, and who did somebody had to make it up, you know, somewhere down the line, right? Lorna is greeting Lucienne, and Nilda is greeting me, and everyone. Blessings. Thank you so much. So Brandon is here from a different angle, saying, I've just recently become interested in expanding my spiritual knowledge. I'd like to get proficient in reading tarot eventually, but I want to get better at deciphering spirits, signs, and synchronicities. Amazing. Right. So totally possible. As long as that is your focus, totally possible. I will say that as you're trying to decipher it, you probably want to have a slightly broader knowledge of at least kind of signs and symbols, so that you know what you're seeing when you're seeing it. Now, I'll preface that by saying that none of us know immediately what we're seeing when we're seeing, and when I sort of get a message, I may have to walk around with it, you know, for days going, what was that? What was that? What was that? Because it's rarely sort of this instantaneous. But I'm trying to think, have I got a dictionary of symbols? What you're looking for is, I think, like a dream dictionary. There we go. Something like this, so that when you get symbols, you know what you're kind of looking for. So it obviously doesn't have to be this one. I'd be very surprised if you found this one. It looks like the kind of thing that would get, you know, just sort of printed as like a gift thing, you know, on the way out of the bookshop, which is clearly irresistible to me. But it's entirely possible to start from where you're at. So for me, because I started with the tarot, it's the other way around. And so when I then sort of got excited about deciphering signs and synchronicities, because I knew the tarot and a lot of the symbols there, then it was kind of easier, but it doesn't have to be that way around. So if that is your focus now, that is a fabulous focus, a brilliant focus. You could encourage this skill to develop by perhaps keeping a dream diary or keeping a journal for synchronicities, so that you can go over them, so that you can remember things that you've seen, so that you can remember interpretations for symbols that you'd got, you know, months ago that might come around again. So that's very exciting, and very exciting that you found us so early on in your journey. Sabrina says, hola, hola. Brandon is greeting Nilda. Nilda is greeting Lorna. And I've got a wonderful message from Lorna, who says, oh, yes, Brandon, signs and synchronicities are amazing. I find the more I expect and believe, the more it happens, or the more you notice. I think that's so true. So I was doing a course. It was a parenting course. It wasn't even to do with that. But I was doing a course a few years ago, and the person running the course was using some example, and he said there's like a name for it, for when you suddenly notice things that are important to you. He said that when, for example, you've decided you're going to get a new car, and you decide that car is going to be a specific brand or a specific make or a specific model, And then all of a sudden, as you're sort of walking in the road, you suddenly notice that make, that model much, much more often. There's some kind of name for it, some kind of syndrome, some kind of system, but it apparently is a thing. So when you, sorry. So when you look for signs, the signs will be there. Even more so, when you ask for signs, the signs will be there. So Brandon is saying, yes, Lorna, it's been happening to me a lot lately. So many different ones, but it's hard to figure out what it means exactly for me. So that's really sort of where the process lies, that what it means for lots of other people might not be what it means for you, but only you will know. And I've had examples happen to me where I could not figure out what the sign meant for a long time. So I asked around with friends, what do you think it means? What do you think it means? And eventually, you know, it is entirely possible to find what the reason is. While you're trying to figure out what the symbol might be and what the symbol might signify, be proactive. Ask. Now, when you ask sort of the universe, the angels, the gods and goddesses for symbols, you need to know who you're talking to. You know, in your mind's eye, we're all part of the one, and all divinity is part of one divinity, and so on. So if you view your conversation partner as, say, the universe, then say, you know, please, universe, help me get easier symbols, or help me figure out what those signs mean. If it is angels that you're communicating with, there's a big surge in communicating with archangels, also very, very cool. It can be a specific god or specific goddess, somebody that you relate to. It can be your higher self. But state the name, you know, or job description of the entity that you're communicating with, and ask, you know, petition them, beseech them to give you clues about sort of what those signs are. I love that you sort of started from something so kind of open-ended, because anything can happen then. Roger Blair says, howdy and bal, Lorna and everyone. Hi, Roger. Great to have you here with us. Space Wagon says, hi all, and some high fives. Luciane is greeting. Lorna is greeting. Crystal says, hello and bal, hello everyone. Blessed day and happy fall equinox. Yeah, it's been a very exciting few days. Colleen says, hello all, I'm in listen mode as I search for a missing kitty. Oh, I send a lot of love and energy that your kitty finds its way to you and that you find its way to it. Luciane very helpfully says, with signs and synchronicities, I get a physical sensation when I know for sure that it's a message from spirit, source, or the goddess. Would you share with us what the physical sensation is? That way we can all learn together. Sometimes I get asked, like, how do you know when the voice in your head is actually the voice of intuition, or if it's, you know, the voices? So again, have different people got like different experiences with how they know when they know they know. Mark is here saying good evening and bal, and one and all. Sorry, but I didn't notice the time. I know, you know, usually when I sort of log on when I'm about to go live, I can see that you've sort of posted a first message a few minutes before, and I couldn't see your message, and I thought, is the whole system broken? Are we not going to be able to go live? Because I can't see the message. It must mean that the system is broken. We've got some greetings. And then Space Wagon says, happy equinox, signs and synchronicities. Yes. Yeah. So we've had a very exciting few days, didn't we? So on Sunday, we had the autumn equinox. At the same time, we had the solar eclipse, which means it was the new moon. Is that correct? I'd hate to trip up on something so straightforward. Yeah, it was the new moon in Virgo. And then that also started the Jewish New Year. So happy Jewish New Year to anyone who celebrates, me. But it all kind of bundled together all at the same time. And I feel like it's a wonderful, fresh energy. We're leaving the cluster of the cluster of eclipses behind us. And I think there's not another eclipse until like March, April. So we can sort of really get stuck into autumn and winter. Crystal says, absolutely. I follow my dreams and signs and synchronicities on a daily. Do you keep a journal, Crystal? Or I know that you have like a encyclopedic knowledge just in your mind. Sabrina says, when I ask for signs, I ask if it can be big because sometimes, most of the time, I'm not very observant. I think that's the case for a lot of us, that, there'll be a sign and you kind of think, was it, wasn't it? And then it'll happen again and you'll be like, oh yeah, so that probably was a sign. But still not be like, sure, that's the case for me. And then it might happen like a third time and I'm like, okay, that's definitely a sign. Like it wouldn't just accidentally happen twice, 3 times. We've got a message from Lucianne saying, and to not overthink what a sign means. First response is good to trust. Very, very true. Very true. Because sometimes the sign will be just a word. And sometimes the sign will be a color. I had the very uncomfortable signs of animals who were not alive anymore by the side of the road. And I was like, why does this keep happening? And, there was a reason. There's always a reason. We've got greetings. Lorna is saying, hi, Colleen. Find Kitty, sending good energy for Kitty. Crystal says, please check the local post office or a place where mail is taken or dispersed. I believe your kitty is within that vicinity. I pray your baby comes home. Wonderful. So if you're still looking for Kitty, see if there's a mailbox or anything that is used for post. Lorna says, Laws, Mark. I was waiting for 9 p.m. No idea why. No idea why. No. Lucianne says, the sign that you're getting a sign, the physical manifestation of getting a sign says, like a ripple of electricity through me, usually from my center upwards, kind of fizzy. I love that. Sabrina says, see, on Sunday, we did have a wonderful pile up on Sunday. Pile up of astrological phenomenon. I've got Mark's message that says, I had an incident where I used to live years ago. I had a horrible feeling in my stomach, like I shouldn't go down the alleyway. It turns out an 18-year-old lad was stabbed moments. I remember that, don't I? Yeah. Lorna says, what is the name of the autumn solstice? I read it somewhere, but I can't remember. People call it Mabon now. It doesn't really work. Over the last maybe 10 years or so, there's been like a fashion of giving the equinoxes and the solstices names so that they would look cooler. I don't know. On the Wheel of the Year, you've got your autumn equinox, spring equinox, summer solstice, winter solstice, and then you've got the sort of the big festivals. So you've got Imbolc, Beltane, Lughnasadh, and Samhain. So in order to make it all look like cool names, we started referring to obviously the winter equinox as the winter solstice as Yule, and and a whole bunch of names for all the others, but they don't necessarily work if you just sort of think. So the word you're looking for is Mabon, but the reason it didn't stay stuck in your brain is because it's kind of a new, improved way of referring to it that was never really necessary. When you've got like the old witchy books, like the Witch's Bible and so on, I believe it'd be really embarrassing if that's not the case. But in the Witch's Bible, we have the there we go. We've got the Sabbats, and they're listed as Imbolc, 2nd of February, spring equinox, 21st of March. Oh, I don't know why that got so dark all of a sudden. There we go. Beltane, in a really funky spelling, 30th of April, Midsummer, 22nd of June, Lughnasadh, 31st of July, Autumn Equinox, 21st September, Samhain, 31st October, and I suppose Yule, 22nd of December. But that's how you see it in like older books, not even like ancient, is it? They're not like ancient books, but that's absolutely fine to refer to them like that. It doesn't have to be like fancy, Instagram names. And got Sabrina, greeted by Nicole, and Crystal says, yes, I do have a journal, but I get lazy, lol. Crystal, so you know that at the start of the year, I was saying that I don't really dream, or don't really remember my dreams. I get up and I sort of forget straight away, or I have a strong feeling like I didn't dream at all. And I thought I should start a diary, but I also am lazy. And completely by chance, one of my husband's sisters, of which there are 3, got me like a diary. And it's like purple, and it's got like the moons on the outside. And I was like, wow, what a perfect diary to start as a dream diary. So for the first few weeks, I would have like whole blank weeks. Or I'll have like one, I'll wake up on a Wednesday and sort of remember the dream and write it down straight away. Fast forward to today, and I get like 5-6 entries per week, which is sort of much improved. I think when you invest in increasing like the signs and the symbols, and and the practice that you put into it, it pays back many folds. So past this year, unless this Yule I get another diary, unless I'm probably not going to keep it up. I'm very happy that I'm putting a whole year into it and that I'm improving the practice. But then once it's done, it will hopefully remain that I'm able to sort of to dream and to remember my dreams, afterwards. So just invest however long you need to invest for things to change. Mark says, and of course I have dreams like that time I told you in Manchester, and look what happened, stopped happening, and that did happen. It did. Pumpkin says, was a dodgy gut feeling a sign that I shouldn't have had that second piece of Rosh Hashanah ginger cake last night? No, there's no signs for that. No, there's no signs against cake. Tina is here, and she says, Good evening. And signs I should pay attention to, or words for me. My 49th birthday is Friday. I love listening and getting inspiration here. Thank you, Tina. That's wonderful to hear. Let's actually pull a couple of cards, see what signs or words or inspiration you need to notice. And very, very lovely to have you here. Your final birthday in the first half of century. It's an exciting one to celebrate. Let's have a look. What signs or words you need to pay attention to? Do you know what it shows me? Gates, fences, closed doors. If there's anywhere that you get to, if it's like, I don't know, a center that you go to, a shop that you go to, and the door is usually open and you walk up and the door is closed. There's a farm that you visit and the gate is always open. All of a sudden it'll be closed. These are signs to look for, because what it says, kind of a backwards one, what it says to me is that you at the moment are accepting of like everything, and everything is accepting of you. And that's too much. You need to start kind of narrowing down the things that you're interested in, the availability of your energy for, for people that might not be worthy of your energy. And therefore, the signs that you'll get of like closed doors, closed gates, fences, closed windows, those signs will signify to you where you don't need to be wasting your energy, so that you can better hone the places that are deserving of your energy. Let me know if that makes sense. Colleen says we'll walk there now as I listen. Thank you. Crystal is so good at discovering things. Lorna is impressed with Mark. Mark says, yep, indeed you do, because that email text you about it actually freaked me out, if you remember, because it literally could have been me. Yeah, there's actually a friend of ours that lives near to where there was violence. That's years now, where there was violence. And yeah, it's a very obviously unpleasant topic, but there is a lot to be said for those signs that say, could have been you. You were spared for a reason. Tina says, I had an incident. Was going for a long bike ride that I always did on Saturday morning. Got to my bike to unlock it, and the guy said, no, go do this first and bike later. Road where a bike was closed. Another cyclist was hit and run where I should have been in that path. Listen to your intuition. That's so bonkers that you sent that, because that's exactly what the signs were showing for you. To closed gates, closed fences, and there we go with a closed road. Wow, that blew me away. Lorna says, yes, someone said it was a new made up name or similar. Yeah, it's, I don't want to sort of be down on traditions that are updated or anything, because I think it's also sort of not, wouldn't be that cool of me to go, oh yeah, I've been around for 30 years. And because I've been around for 30 years and you've been around for like 29 years, I am so much better than you. So, so it's not like that. It's just that using the name Mabon, even if it was sort of put in place for perfectly, legitimate reasons, there's something about the name that doesn't really work with the other stuff, because the majority of the other names that we have is Celtic, as in Irish. And I think Mabon is, there's so many reasons why it doesn't sort of exactly work.
Mark says Yule actually comes from Yule, which is an old Scandi way of turning the wheel. Ah, I didn't know that. That is interesting. Um, Pumpkin says, for all we can see of the book's detail on screen, you could be holding up the Profanosaurus. I could. Where is it? I don't know where the Profanosaurus is. We definitely kept it, or it's definitely somewhere near. But no, I don't know. It must be in one of the lower shelves. As you can see, there's some tidying going on, which is why the books are spread in this ungodly fashion. It's not going to stay like this. You'll not you'll autocorrect. This is still impressive. Crystal said, I think Mabon was coined in the 1970s after the Celtic god Mabon. It really wasn't in use at all until like the Instagram age. Whether it was coined in the 70s or not, like if it was coined in the 70s, it would be in the Witch's Bible, but it certainly wasn't like used in covens or in any kind of, group work. Luciane, greeting Mark. Mark says, Pumpkin, are you here too? Yes, he's here. Nigel says, hi, everyone. And he says, how are you doing today? Luciane started, but was stopped. Nigel says, I'm doing half and half. Thank you. I really hope that we can make you a little bit happier, a little more excited. Why don't we all share? So we're talking about developing psychically, developing spiritually, and signs and symbols that you might notice. Sabrina says, I do like my dreams now. I've dreamt some wonderful things, also dreams of holding boundaries. Boundaries are the best, aren't they? I've not had sort of particularly meaningful or prophetic dreams, but at the moment, I'm just sort of really relishing the fact that I get them at all. Lorna is saying happy birthday for Friday to Tina, and Luciane is saying happy birthday to Tina. Luciane says, a card pull would be lovely if possible, super possible, even probable. Let's have a look at a few cards for Luciane to see how things are going for you. Ooh, 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 ooh. Right, you have very, very cute cards. It's showing a lot of love coming in. It's showing some family connections, and also, I don't know, is it because of the new place? It says that things that you try now succeed straight away. So, we can get the business going more, because it shows that thanks to the love that you've got flowing freely around you, and thanks to the family that you have, maybe closer or maybe just sort of feeling closer, in your heart, you can now open your eye and see success. Open your eye and decide on success. Nigel Porter says, I only have one dream, to come to moving house next year. I hope that happens for you. I hope that house move happens. Crystal says, happy birthday. Mark says, indeed, Luciana, I like it as well, more so because of my Scandi ancestry. I think there's a lot of influence from Scandinavian traditions. Lorna, Luciane, Mark says, yes, but not for the first time, and no doubt we'll have loads happen in the future. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed.
Brandon says, I recently had a complete whiteout in a dream. The light was so bright, it was like someone was shining fluorescent light in my face. I held steady until I opened my eyes. Any ideas, anyone? So, was there anything with the whiteout? Was there a feeling? Was there a sound? Did you find it scary? Did you find it exhilarating? Is the whiteout could be sort of seeing things, on the other side, crossing, through the clouds. But it could be a whole bunch of things. Let us know what else was there. Tina says, thank you all, with a little cake. And Nigel says, can I please have a card, please? Absolutely. You asked for one, but I'm going to go with 3 because everybody else got 3. Why should you make do with fewer? So let's have a look. Right. So with regards to the house move, it's coming, but a lot of paperwork has to be in place. A boring amount of paperwork. So it says your heart's desire is coming to you. The move is happening, but look at the amount of paperwork. It says that you have got all the different bits and bobs that you need. You'll need to have a sort of a legal helper, like a lawyer, conveyancer, whatever it is, that is really good at kind of turning over paperwork quite fast because there will be so much going on. It's bringing up October. Do you think 1 year is a reasonable time for you for that move? Let us know. Lucianne says the time is now for sure. I know for double sure. For double sure. If you want to come on and sort of show more bits and bobs of your business, if you want to sort of come and, publicize a little bit more of your readings, because I was so excited, obviously, over the stuff that you make, but whatever we can do as a community. Mark says, do you know something that's interesting nowadays for me? You've known me since I was 23, and now I don't really have any real dreams anymore. I have sleep dreams, but other bits. Nope, I'm just, let's see the bit. Allowing life to do as it does. Weird, isn't it? I mean, years ago, would have wanted this and that, but now, nope, just happy to be alive. First of all, that's maturity, isn't it? But also, and this kind of takes us back to where I started, and it could be a nice way to sort of round off the show. When you're kind of new to the esoteric, you try to do everything and try to get good at everything. And the secret is really to sort of get really good at one thing, and then you find that you're good at all the other things. The same happens with magic as well. When you first sort of come into the world of witchcraft, manifesting, whatever way you see it, you cannot stop doing spells. You'll do a prosperity spell, the next day there's a love spell, the next day you've got like a coven ritual, and it's it's overwhelming. There's a lot of it. Things will come true, but as you get more and more in the swing of magic, you realize that life is magic. And here and there you might need to ask for specifics, sure, to get something happen a little faster, to get something happen a little more accurately. But on the whole, you come to an acceptance and understanding that life is magic and that you're going to end up in the exact right place for you, that there are no mistakes. Not in a religious way, but that things happen exactly the way that they should be happening. And this is what Mark, who has been walking this path for 20 something years, has come to the realization. Colleen says, I sure could use a card. The missing kitty is just the start right now. I know we all have these times, but wow. Let's take one card for the missing kitty and 3 for you. So missing kitty. Missing kitty is alive but frightened. She's under something. Is it a she? She's under something. She's waiting for the very quiet time to scream out at you. But yeah, she is feeling sort of quite scared, and it might be damp where she is. Not only is she alive, but she'll be able to sort of live, even if it takes you days to find her. And for you, for Colleen, it says that it's important in your business to make sure that everything is above board at the moment. I don't want to say that you're going to be like tested, examined, inspected, whatever you call it, but it's important that everything is above board and everything is sort of registered really, really properly, because I feel like there's some new rules coming in. And when those new rules come in, you will benefit from having everything in place. Let me know if that makes sense at all. Brandon's telling us about his dream, saying no sound, a bit scary, but I wasn't afraid. All I know is how people say experience a white light in a near-death experience. That's exactly what I was thinking, that it's, you know, that is sort of going beyond the veil. So it's possible that somebody was wanting to come and talk to you. And that kind of slightly scared feeling might happen if the other person, the departed person, is ready to talk to you, but you still feel a little bit trepidatious about sort of fully listening and leaning into the conversation. Nigel says, thank you so much. It was spot on. Thank you. That's really kind of you to say. Mark says, Mark says, yeah, Luciane, go on, do it. Absolutely. Crystal says, I do have a question, please. I had a dream that an item with malicious intent was placed in my home. Could you help me figure out what it is and where it is? Thank you. This has been bothering me. I would say, personally, a dream like this, I'd worry. A dream like this, I would cleanse the whole house, you know, no questions asked. If you find the item, great, but it might just be an energy, so you might not find it. You cannot go wrong cleansing. Go around the whole house with sage stick or a Palo Santo or incense. Go around the whole house in clockwise direction. Every room clockwise, the next room, the next room, next room clockwise. Visualize as if the whole house is full of gray smoke, and visualize yourself coughing that gray smoke out and shutting the window, shutting the doors so that it is all cleansed. But yeah, a dream like that I would take as a, you know, a no mystery, as a prophetic dream. It does what it says. Luciane says, the day I understood that life is magic, a huge grin filled my face. It is so soothing to understand that. It's so soothing. It's so relaxing, because then you think, yeah, everything else will be, you know, all right, because everything until now was all right. Mark says, 5 minutes, guys. So thanks, Inbal, as always. Loved you all. And of course, thanks to everyone else here who's here tonight. See you all Thursday morning. Yes. Brandon says, may I get a few cards pulled for what's ahead for me in October, please? And thank you. Absolutely, Brandon. It's been really lovely spending this hour with you. It shows you, it's two sides of the same coin. On the one side, it shows your confidence increasing and feeling stronger. On the other side, it shows you accepting some things that have broken you in the past and took your confidence completely. And they're two sides of the same coin, because once you know where you feel really confident and which things have had the opportunity to bring you to your knees, then you have true strength. So in October, you'll have plenty of things to congratulate yourself about, but you'll also come face to face either with someone who dumped you or with a work situation where they weren't attentive to you. So you'll have to face some of your insecurities. Do it because you'll come out of it the stronger person. And Luciane says, lovely to spend time with you all again. And Mark says, send a little early. Summer Solstice 2000 started the Wiccan path. Took breaks because of Death's Door battle. Now back at it. And Colleen says, going through an insurance audit now. And all is going just fine. Very good. Stay above board. Loving a sage cleanse. Pumpkin says Inval is very good at auditor banishment spells. Not as good as I'd like to be. Not as good. I need to reach the pinnacle of excellence. And Luciane says, good advice. Crystal, speak out to everything in your house. Anything unwelcome here, leave now. You are banished. Any item is not meant to be here. With love will likely break or fall, etc. And Crystal saying, thank you. Amazing advice. Thank you, everybody, for spending this lovely hour with me. I'm going to be around Thursday morning with Laura. And actually, I'm interviewed on somebody else's platform Thursday evening. So stay close for updates. I've had the best time. And I'll see you soon. Bye.